Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, Orange men and ladies. Happy Wednesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials, go there. Join the Militia live on X Spaces for the final segment of each show, God willing. The 4-1 Syracuse Orange will head to North Carolina this weekend, Saturday, for their first road game in the ACC, as well as their first matchup against a ranked opponent, if I'm not mistaken. They're 15th, right?
Yep.
The
14th.
14th. Okay. All right. This is the first road trip of a long stretch of many to come. We'll get your final score predictions, and you'll hear our always accurate predictions as well in the live segment of tonight's show, or to this evening's show, as it were. Presser, not much in it. Joe and I agree that, we're just going to get right into this. Think tonight. So, we want to get to your, go over last week's, get your predictions for this week, and I see it's catching on. The explanations are catching on, and, at least on Twitter. And I, for one, love it. So, the all-time series between the Orange and the Tarheels sits at 3-3. Each team has taken the last of their home games. UNC with a 31-6 win in 2020, and Syracuse with a 40-37 win in 2018. This is the double overtime game. We all remember this, the famous Tommy DeVito Savior game. He came in through for 181 yards and 3 touchdowns to Dungy's 225 and no touchdowns. And we all remember the chaos that ensued after that game. Joe, me, guilty. Okay, never again. 4-0. Carolina is coming off their bye week after beating Pitt 41-24. That game was on the road at Pitt, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. Coach Mac Brown in his 5th year back with the Tar Heels. They finished 9-5 last year, 6-2 in the ACC in Drake May's inaugural season. Eventually, making it to the ACC championship last year, and they pretty much got dismantled by none other than Clemson, 39-10. May, though, this kid finished with just enormous amount of yards racked up through the air, 4,321, 38 TDs, tack on 7 Russian TDs to that, and he led the entire ACC with total touchdowns with 45. So, this kid, he's a destined first rounder, if not a top 10, arguably. So far this year, he has 5 touchdowns, but he's got 4 interceptions. Although thrown for 1,187 yards, completing 72.7% of those passes and roughly 296 yards a game, which is, consider the opponents, I guess, but it's still a lot. Okay, no matter how you slice it, it's a lot, and it's good practice. He spreads the ball around pretty good. He's got 4 targets with 10-plus receptions, 5 receivers with 100-plus yards on the year so far. Returning guys to the receiving corps, J.J. Jones, he leads the team with 296 yards, but no touchdowns. There was a Kent State transfer. Devontae Walker did not receive a waiver from the NCAA. To become immediately eligible because he's a 2-time transfer student. So Mac Brown, I don't know if anyone remembers, he kind of went off in the NCAA in a brilliant statement, and you can look it up. I would love to read it. I have it here, but he tore the NCAA a new one, and rightfully so. Let's be honest. Although it's the Tar Heels, I don't care. Anytime anybody rips the NCAA, I'm there for it, and I have your back, Coach Brown. Sophomore running back Omarion Hampton, he's averaging 96 yards a game, and it's good on his carries for 5.2 yards. So awesome. Defensively, it's a veteran group. It's similar to struggles of last year, though. They've got two big-time returners in Power Eccles and Cedric Gray, both linebackers. They combined for 247 tackles last year. So far this year, through 4 games, they've combined for 65. Gray leading the two of them with 34 and 1.5 sacks. Nationally, the Heels rank 61st in total defense, allowing an average of 363 yards a game. 51st in rushing offense, rushing defense, letting by 124 yards a game, and 83rd in stopping the pass, an average of 239 yards through the air. So Joe, I mean, it's kind of the opposite issue we dealt with last week to some extent, right? You got a high-powered offense, and you got some holes in the defense a little bit. I feel like Syracuse it's going to bode better for us. I think it's a better matchup. The one guy they're missing from last year was it? Storm Duck. Storm Duck transferred to NC State or Louisville. He's in the ACC. Is he not? Louisville. Okay. So Storm Duck, he was their dude in the secondary. And, none of the names pop out at me. So with that said, I mean, there was holes last year, but
their defense is pretty bad.
Yeah. But it's kind of the same thing, except for it's mostly the same guys. So
yeah. I mean, the only difference to me, realistically, with them and us, I mean, you look at the stats, and offense looks very similar. Mays and Schrader's numbers look very similar. Like LaQuinn Allen and Hampton's are pretty close as well. So even Alford and J.J. Jones, realistically, the difference to me is the defense. But then again, you don't know if this is kind of a skewed stat because, when you do look at the schedule, their first 4 games, I mean, that they're better. They haven't played their D1AA yet, which is Campbell, which is way down the line in the schedule. But starting off the season, beating South Carolina 31-17, and then barn burner against App State for 2 years in a row, right? 2 overtimes. And then home against Minnesota, a Big Ten team. So an SEC team, a Big Ten team, and then they just played their first conference game at Pitt and won pretty handily. So
Pitt not showing much signs of life lately anyway.
And that's the thing, realistically, when you look at Pitt, their offense really hasn't looked that great. And, I mean, North Carolina, they've averaged giving up about, 22 points a game, something like that. So, and they give up more yards. So, realistically, this isn't, like, everybody knew going into this year, these 3 teams from Clemson to Florida State, they're the most talented teams that we're going to be playing, right? And they have the best quarterbacks that we're going to play. These are the top 3 quarterbacks we're going to play. These next 2 are top 2. Cade was probably number 3 if I had to rank them. So between Drake May and between Jordan Travis, like, they both can run, they both can throw. I think the only difference really here is that, I don't know, it would have been different if that guy you were talking about, was it Ford or something? That receiver?
Oh, it was Tez Walker, Devontae Walker.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he played, then I think May he lacks. Last year he had 2 receivers who went to the NFL. So, I mean, I think that he doesn't have as good a skill players as he did last year. I think that's why they're relying more on the run. And don't get me wrong,
that's why they brought Tez in, though. They were very much hoping that he was going to get a waiver.
Oh, absolutely.
To play, because he didn't play in the COVID year. He didn't play.
Right. So this one, it kind of is tough because we do have a different schedule, so it's hard to just compare stats sometimes. But, I mean, it opened up as a 9-point favorite for North Carolina. It's went down to 8. I think that's a little high. I think we're a little bit closer than that. And, like you said, our presser didn't really give us too much, but I did listen to Mac Brown's, and I don't know. I don't know if it was a little. I don't want to say I didn't feel respected. Like, when you listen to a presser, like a pregame presser, you want to hear the other team and your coach. You want to talk. You want to hear your coach talk about the other team and vice versa, right? And to me, it was a lot of just talking about his players and talking about a lot of Pittsburgh and what they did on the bye week and everything. And he did give some insight to where, they gave their players homework to watch the Syracuse Clemson game, take notes and look at some things of, like, obviously around the position that you're going to be playing so that you could try to pick up on tendencies and stuff like that. So there was definitely a scouting report homework assignment. And he's also pushing the fact that last year they started 9-1 and then they fell apart and ended up finishing 9-5 and they collapsed. They got cocky. Everyone was talking about him. They got complacent. And so another one of the messages he, went to his coaches was, pretend we're 0-4. Like, what would you do if we were 0-4 coming out of the bye week and then this game was going on? So they're playing with a chip. They don't want what happened last year to happen.
It's a fake chip,
keep it going.
It's a fake chip.
Hey, man, if you can make it,
it's fake.
It's
a faux chip.
I'm just saying. Yeah, but there wasn't a lot of talk about us. There wasn't.
Was
really
there a lot of questions?
It almost gave this illusion that they really weren't worried about it too much. That they felt like they were in a good place off a bye, and I don't know. Like I said,
well,
I don't want to go to the point where I felt like disrespected. It's just like I think that this game is going to be a close game, and I mean, obviously, you can't go down and spot them 14 or think that you can lose the turnover and penalty battle the way you did last game because these guys do score. But this is
going to be their first real test. I mean, believe it or not, their 5th game in, our 6th. This is North Carolina's first real test. I mean, I don't know how we stack up against Appalachian State, or even South Carolina for that matter. But I mean, I feel like what we've got something more to give them than we did last year. Not last year, but what was it? 2018 when we had to go to two overtimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they do too. But it's not like we play each other that much. But this is a team that can be exposed by an offense, and I think our defense is up for the challenge with their offense. And I mean, we're going to see, but I feel just like on a pure confidence level, I just feel better about this. Only thing that's missing is it's not in the dome, right? But that's the one thing. But they went to Purdue at night, and that place was raucous, and they were able to pull that off. It's going to be, probably similar, but it's not under the lights. It's a midday game, and I feel like that bodes for them, right? Being a road team and having to sit around all day and wait for everybody to get liquored up before you take the field, that's tough. It sucks, right? So, this Syracuse is going to have to come out of the gate strong. We talked a lot about that. And Garrett Schrader's talked a lot about that, even in regards to his offense last year, continuing into this year. And I just don't see the situation that we ran into last week. And if we don't go down immediately 14-0, then, I feel like it's going to be a grudge match. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think our defense is up for the challenge, basically is what I'm saying. And Garrett Schrader's, I think everybody on that offense last week, they are, you want to talk about a chip. I mean, if they don't have a chip, I don't know who does. And that's a real chip. They've got something to prove. Yeah,
and on top of that, Garrett Schrader, he's from the Charlotte area, so I'm sure.
Oh, true. That's right. Yeah.
He's going back home. I'm sure he's going to have people, from his hometown, family and friends there, and obviously he already has a chip on his shoulder to come back from last game. But I mean, this game worries me. Don't get me wrong.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
not saying that we're going to definitely win, but this game doesn't worry me as much as Clemson and as much as Florida State's going to. And that's really, I think, only because I do think that our defense is up for the challenge to going against this quarterback. But those are the matchups, right? Because this is the best quarterback that we're probably going to face. And if it's not, and Jordan Travis is, then this is, the best quarterback up to this point that we will face, and we're gonna have to deal with him. And he's elusive, he's smart, he can run, not like Schrader, but he still can move a little bit. And the other question or the other issue is that North Carolina hasn't seen or played against a quarterback that can run like this. So they can watch tape or anything like that, but they haven't played against a guy like this, as versatile as Garrett Schrader is. They haven't played against a quarterback like that. So this might be the best quarterback that they're playing, that the North Carolina defense has played this year. So,
and who shows up for Syracuse on the receiving end? Dan Villari. Saw an interview with him on On Twitter.
He says he's playing, right?
Yeah, he says he's playing. I can't remember the kid's name. I'm sorry. He used to host your favorite podcast, Joe, or he was one of them, I think. Anyway, I saw it on Twitter. He's ready to go. They were talking to him about the game. So, I mean, that's something in the back pocket to keep an eye on. And who steps up for Syracuse offensively in the receiver core, the other receivers? So,
right. I mean, that's what it is too. Obviously, right? Is North Carolina, they had a whole bye week to
recoup, rest.
Well, not only recoup and rest, but to get rid of and fix those issues that they've been having, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we got to do too. But realistically, it's like the gap between May and Schrader as big as the gap between our defense and North Carolina's defense, which I think that's why. I mean, this is destined to be a close, great game, barn burner of a game. I mean, minus one team having really, really losing the turnover or penalty battle like that bad. So, I mean, those are the things. Those type of mistakes. It's going to be the reason this game is won or lost.
Penalties. You're in hostile territory. You gotta watch the penalties. That's under the microscope. The wide receivers are under the microscope. Garrett Schrader's slightly under the microscope. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. Again, similar to Clemson, you got to come into this game and you got to play an almost perfect game. If you want to win against teams like this, 14th ranked team in the country, you got to play an almost perfect game.
Right. Or if you make mistakes, they have to equal your mistakes, right? Like both teams have to kind of even out a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's just a missed opportunity at the end of the day. But yeah.
It is. But I'm just saying, if the penalties and the turnover margin is evened out, then it's really the best team wins. But sometimes that's situation. Right? It's situational as well, too, right?
I mean, you could even as a Syracuse fan say, of course we're biased, but I think that if you're being honest with yourself, North Carolina could be the better team. It's going to be how you execute. And Garrett Schrader talked about execution and how, I just feel like Garrett Schrader's on a mission this week. He's not he's not happy with what happened. He's talked about his execution. He's talked about going through his reads. He's talked about making the right decisions. I think that thank God he's okay. In the hit last week, probably brought him down to earth to some extent. And I think he's going to be more careful now. Okay. That's so important for him to be careful because we could have lost him last week just as easily as we didn't. So
right.
When you think about, him and his running, he's got to be smart about it. And, I think he probably had a reality check last week when getting his bell rung and, look for him to play a little bit smarter. He's been talking about it. He's just an animal. Can't help it.
It's hard. Sometimes it's once you're in the moment, it's hard to turn it off. Sometimes
not when you feel like you can make moves. That's what he was doing. He didn't even see that guy.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, how many times? That's a one out of 20 run. I mean, a lot of times he goes in. He sees the hit. He knows what he's getting himself into. Mm-hmm. Those are just one of those hits where I think anybody fumbles on that.
I think so too.
You didn't see the guy. It's not like
there's a free shot. I mean, that was tackle dummy shit.
Yeah.
I'm not calling Schrader a dummy. I'm just saying.
Right. But I know what you're saying. I mean, you line somebody up. He didn't see you coming. You could line up everything the way you wanted to hit him, hit the ball, all that stuff. Like, that's exactly what you want as a defensive player. So
exactly. He was set right up for that. We put that behind us, though, after that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's going to have to do better, bro.
Yeah, I think he knows that this game rests on his shoulders. And Syracuse, let's be realistic for a second. All right?
This defense is not Clemson's defense.
It's not Clemson's defense. But let's just put everything out real quick. You lose against Clemson, not a huge surprise. If you don't come in and win this game, you got to go to Tallahassee. Would anybody within earshot of me be surprised if we lost in Tallahassee? I would doubt it, right? You have to have this game. You can't go on a 3-game skid on the road and then take a week and then go to Virginia Tech on the road. Right? I mean,
you can.
You can. Well, that's yeah, but I mean,
it could happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my fear.
If it does, you got to do what you got to do.
Right, that's
but
my
again,
fear.
we talked about this. We talked about, yes, I mean, obviously, we're going to this game, right? I want to see them win. Obviously, I want them to see them win every game, but especially if I'm going to be there. But I just don't go as far as necessarily saying like we need to win, depending on what you're comparing it to. Like if you're thinking to yourself like, oh, we need to win to stay in the running for the ACC championship game, then yeah. If that's where your head's at. But if you're looking like we already talked about it, in our last 5 games, they're very beatable, and we get a bye week right in between that last slate of 5 games, in which I think 2 of them are home.
You need this for you. I think this is a very important game. I think we need this game. I don't think that we don't make a bowl game because of it. I mean, if I had them at 7-5 preseason, okay, I had 4-1 exactly, or 4-0. I had them at 4-1, okay, up to Clemson, and then I have them losing against UNC, Florida State, and then beating Virginia Tech, Boston College, and actually I have them losing to Pitt, which was dumb, and I wish I could change it. I mean, I see 8-5 out of the rest of the schedule, even if you drop those games.
But that's what I mean, is if these are the 3 games that if anybody would have picked, hey, beginning of the season, let's say we go 9-3, what 3 games do they lose?
It would be those 3.
It'd probably be these 3, and they have the best 3. Think about it. They have the best 3, obviously, most of the time recruiting rankings, but on top of that, quarterbacks. You take away what I'm looking at in the league right now. You take away Schrader. I mean, I don't know. I'm only looking at the teams that we're playing. So obviously, Miami's got a pretty good one. Duke's got a pretty good one. But as far as the teams that we're playing, these are the 3 best quarterbacks that we're playing. So, and we know that our defense is legit, and that's just, yeah. I mean, if we win this game, then I think that's saying something. I mean, as far as this season could be special, like Dungy year special, maybe better. But that obviously depends on staying healthy as well. But I think for the most part, a majority of people didn't even have us going 4-0, let alone saying we're going to be 4-3. I guess a majority of people would have us after Florida State being 3-4.
That's possible.
From the beginning of the season, right? Mm-hmm. And now here we are. So we're already overachieving in most people's expectations from the beginning. So at the end of the day, if we win this one, we're setting ourselves up for a pretty special, because we could go and lose to Florida State, have 2 losses, and then those next 5 games are all winnable.
I want to beat UNC so bad.
Oh, me too. And it's possible. Like, I don't see them having. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hampton is a great running back, but they don't have amazing. J.J. Jones is pretty good, but their specialty players are just as good as ours. Running backs, all that stuff. The people that Drake May has to throw and run hand the ball off to. I think that ours are pretty comparable. And to be perfectly honest with you, if we were healthy, Arande was healthy, we probably would have better players there. So,
if Arande was healthy, I mean, that's just that's huge, right? I mean, barely got to see him.
Well, and that's the point too, right? Is that I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, how much of this is the after effects of you go all camp. Arande Gatson, he was a man last year, and now of course you're gonna kind of run your offense through him, right? Through him and Garrett and LeQuint, and you probably were game planning that and practicing that all summer, and then Arande goes down, and now you have to completely figure out who's going to step up, what roles people have, and that takes a little bit of time, especially when you're in season. So I really only expect us to get better. I mean, Isaiah Jones is out right now. Trevor Pena is out right now. They said the coach said they'll be back. So, I mean, I expect us to get some reinforcements there, but some of those guys, they got to step up, and they know they have to step up. And if Valari can continue to look like an actual tight end, maybe have throw in some of those tight end, throwing plays and trick plays and stuff like that, because he used to be a former quarterback. That's stuff that can all make up for the loss of Arande. But, it takes the whole family and the whole crew to do it, not just 1 or 2 people at this point.
Yeah. I agree. All right. It's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, loudmouths, you all know what to do when I send out the tweets or the posts or whatever, the X's. What do they call it now? The X's. As for your final score predictions on the upcoming game, obviously this time at Syracuse at UNC. What did you say you think it's called? Is it called a...
X.
It's an X. It's called X now? It's not Twitter.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I still call it Twitter.
Okay.
It's like I'm still going to call it the Carrier Dome.
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Speaking of X/Twitter or whatever, let's start there. Because, let me see, got a bunch. Got a good amount of meat to chew on here, and I haven't looked at them yet, so let's get started. Cuse 28, UNC 14. That UNC defense don't worry me like Clemson, and I think the mob can handle Drake May because he doesn't have many weapons. Need our O-line to step up big time and we can get it done. Listen, did this kid already listen to the front end of this show? Right? I mean, look, that's excellent. We are with you, and we are with you because we said most of that. Not as confident as you said it, Noah, but who does? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'll be probably a little bit more high scoring and closer. I don't know if we keep them to 14, but hey,
yeah,
never know.
You never know. We've seen more surprising things, but my score is written down, and it's not that low. Okay, it's actually higher on both ends than that. Syracuse 37 at Baptized by Fire 7. Syracuse 37, UNC 21. UNC's O-line lets May down, and we sack him 5+ times and 3 turnovers. LaQuint Allen rushes for 150, and there are happy times for this Orange fan and gets to see his first SU win in person. Dom letting the cat out of the bag there.
Talking about Khalil Mack?
Huh? Yeah, right?
What's he talking about, Khalil Mack?
Yeah, Khalil Mack. What do you get, 3? Or no, 6.
It's 6.
6, yeah.
Against your Raiders.
They're not my Raiders. They're not my Raiders. Those aren't my Raiders. My Raiders don't reside in Las Vegas. So
I can't really
my
talk.
Raiders.
I can't talk too much because
Yeah,
Daniel Jones got sacked 11 times. So
yeah, well, not only that, but you told me yesterday the NFL had to create rules for that. So, which I told that joke at work all day today.
Oh yeah, everybody who plays the Giants, they gotta count till 7 Mississippi before they can rush the quarterback. It's a new rule now.
See how fast you can do it.
No. Hey, on that note, real quick, Giants did sign Justin Pugh from free agency to kind of shore up their line. So the ex-Syracuse, he got drafted from the Giants, and then he went off to Arizona, and I think he had an injury, and I think he was back and forth between retiring or not, but I think he was just waiting to get healthy, and I think he figured he would have got picked up at some point in the middle of the season. But back to the Giants, another Syracuse alum in the league.
Daniel Jones looking like the old. You remember the Eli Manning meme? It became a meme.
Yeah.
The freaking hat sideways helmet.
Yeah, dude,
It was so good.
it's tough right now.
Oh man. Hey, look. Just to get back to my point. My Raiders aren't from Vegas. That's it. That's where I stand with that whole effing thing. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Okay.
I can't do it. Aiden O'Connell, guys. Come on. Golly. If I'm not mistaken, Eric Dungy's still out there somewhere. Give me something to cheer for. Golly, dude. Charles on Twitter. At Charles Rogalia. Something to that effect. 27-24 Syracuse in a take me to Krause type game. Okay, well, I like that.
Wow.
At David 7W, 31-28 Cuse. We're getting closer to my score now. The two teams are surprisingly even. The two teams are surprisingly even in a lot of stats, and I believe the total is currently at 59, which seems legit. The stats though, and when we were talking about, we got one extra game. Schrader's got one extra game in, when you're comparing his stats to Drake May. Can't forget that. I think our O-line will fare much better against UNC than it did last week. Yes, I agree. And that will be a big difference. It'll be huge. We get over 200 yards on the ground, go Orange. That's a... Look, what was I saying they let through? They let through 124. Yeah. 100. Well, I got 124 here, but okay, call it 125 a game. I think between Schrader being careful and LaQuinn Allen, I think they could have a field day with that. I think it's a recipe for what I would call a field day. So, I mean, it's possible. I don't know about 200, but, it's possible.
Look, you never know, man. I think that it's one of those things where once they get it down, I think some of the linemen that we've seen are coming back, right? I mean, Aloha and Moore were both back and played last game. So, we have more people back to kind of throw in the mix and see what works. And obviously, North Carolina gives up, some rushing yards. I mean, we hold our opponents to under 100. So, and it adds up to almost 30 more or 30 less rushing yards than they allow. So, I mean, and like what we talked about, they haven't seen a quarterback as elusive and as dual threat as Garrett Schrader this year on their schedule. So,
yeah, I was going to say something. And I totally lost track.
I'm just saying, Schrader almost had 200 against Purdue by himself.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if that's a great comparison though. Like my expectations aren't there, but I just want him to be safe. But I think he can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he can do it. Obviously, Clemson's a different animal, guys. I mean, let's be honest. It really is. And I think Clemson goes on the tear, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Right. At number one Cuse fan, Syracuse 37, UNC 21. I like that. The mob sacks Drake May several times, and they get a few turnovers as well, along with Garrett Schrader having a big bounce back game using LaQuinn and the rest of the receivers in a huge way. I mean, it is not kind of. It's a bounce back game for Garrett, and I think he knows it just listening to him talk. He was on the mob podcast, by the way. If you hadn't listened, it's pretty good. So
who's the Schrader?
Schrader was on the Mob podcast.
No, I mean I saw a clip, but I didn't see the whole thing. It had been released yet?
I don't know. I saw the clip too. I retweeted the clip. I think so. I think it may have came out today at some point.
Yep.
At Tyler Morona, our buddy Tyler. I need to show Tyler some love here. New dad and all that. 34-31. Not sure who wins, to be honest, but that's the score. Well, you got me there. Okay? I did not specify that you need to pick a winner. I just said final score prediction. So, touche. Tyler starting his own collective or something thereof, right?
I think he's helping.
Helping. Okay.
I'm not sure. He's part of.
We need to speak with him about that and possibly get him here.
Get some clarity?
Yeah, get some clarity. There's a video. I retweeted it. He was upset. He had to go for a walk after the Clemson game. He was pretty pissed off. And he's vowing to raise $1 million for NIL money. So, hey, look, come on here and tell me how you're going to do it. Let's figure it out. Oh, boy. At Jello Zump 19, 31-21 Cuse. I think Schrader has a bounce-back game, and they use Alan Moore, who has a big game because of it. Defense stays strong and focuses on forces a few turnovers, and we can get out of there with a W. Okay? You got anything from Facebook or what? I'm running out here.
Yeah, I'll just run through this real quick because there's a couple that aren't really,
because there's
the meat on the bones. So I'll just go Chris Courtwright, 41-21 Bad Guys. Michael Dendis, 28-7 UNC. A lot of UNC. Alex McDonald, 28-26 Cuse. Some low-scoring games. Fred Dever, 28-17 Cuse. 21-3 North Carolina. Some Jeff Bishop. Boy Sabo has North Carolina 37, Cuse 29. John Gubbins, 50-7 UNC. I got very little faith after last week.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that kind of game.
That's a little bit of a... And then the only one that really gave any type of, meat in the whole thing, Andy Stewart, 3 questions. Who has UNC beat? How much better is Syracuse than App State?
That was my question. Are we? I mean, you got to imagine we're probably better, right?
Right.
I hope.
What's the difference between the number 9 defense in the country and Clemson compared to the number 62 in North Carolina, which, by the way, were ranked 21st? With that said, Syracuse beats North Carolina 31-24 by running the ball efficiently, controlling the clock, and getting enough stops on defense. This game is the most winnable out of the 3 big ones.
I agree.
It's pretty.
I agree, and I especially agree with controlling the tempo of the game and limiting snaps on offense. I mean, if Syracuse can get a running game going and just pull an Army. I mean,
I don't think we have to go that drastic, but definitely don't have to go as fast as we've been going.
Right. Yeah. At our Boris 9, 38-35 Cuse, we clean up our mistakes. Our D-line is better than their D-line, and that makes the difference. Okay, I like it. And cleaning up the mistakes, we talked a little bit about on the front end, and that's just one thing that's got to get done to win any of these games coming up. I mean, you can't do that anymore. And that was one of the advantages of playing some of the cupcakes in the beginning and trying to get all of that out of your system. And then I kind of understand Clemson and the nerves maybe a little bit, but you were at home. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm a reasons versus excuses kind of guy, but I mean, I'm even running out of that. So it's just one of those things, like they just got to clean it up. And we talked last week, or was it Sunday, about some of those PI calls being totally necessary for Syracuse and probably save some touchdowns in that aspect. So,
well, in some they are, but in the other situations, it's all fixable. It's all fixable technique.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
As a corner, you have to know that there's times where you have to turn around and find the ball.
Yes, exactly. And don't touch people out of bounds and things of that nature. Don't move before the ball snapped. Stuff like that. At Cuse Nation 1, Cuse needs to come out pissed and offense needs to do better, but I feel like the ACC will blow the UNC in Florida State game like the Clemson game. They don't want Cuse beating those 3 teams. I mean, look, conspiracy theory? I don't know. Maybe just a theory. But I'm kind of with Aaron. It's a great point. You always have to battle that, and it's dumb. It's dumb. It's so dumb. All right.
I don't know. It's just like, is it because of? I mean, do you think?
Does it just feel that way?
It's probably the money, right?
I mean, maybe
it's the money.
Maybe. I mean, is there really a hit out on Syracuse? By the ACC officials.
But
I mean, I don't know. Weirder things are going on right now than that. So, I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
you can't say.
Be careful. I'll vacate
if we were to make the ACC. I'm just saying, if we make the ACC championship game, then I mean, we will travel. Like, our fans will travel, but that's not where the money is, right? The money is the eyeballs and the TV sets, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And who's bringing in the ducats? Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Yeah.
On to this week anyway. My favorite part of the show is where we talked about last week. Joe had 31-27 Clemson. I had 31-24 Clemson. So, yeah.
You win.
I won. Look at that. 3.
Wow. See how happy and optimistic that you are when you actually win? My favorite part of the show. But if I won, you would have been like, all right, let's get it over with.
Well,
come on.
Yeah, naturally.
That time of the show.
That's 2 in a row, though. 3-2. I'm leading right now. So that means I'm going to go first. Look, it's a different game than Clemson. Joe, you hit it earlier. You got a high-powered offense against a pretty good defense, and then you've got a pretty good offense against a not-so-great defense, right? So it makes for probably something that's going to be high scoring. Like I said earlier, I hope we can get the run game going. I hope Schrader can be safe and smart. And we've got Dan Villari's looks like he's suiting up. So that's a wrinkle for UNC, along with one of the other receivers or 2 of the other receivers doing something right. And I think we if we can control this game offensively and stay on the field, we've got a fighting chance. Like I said, maybe Army this game. Of course, it's not going to be like that. We're just not that methodical, right? And plus, I just don't think that it's in them. I think sometimes they want to go, right? But you got to be moving the ball too. So, I got it kind of high. I don't know. We'll see. But my gut is nervous. It is. And it's not that I'm picking this score because I'm like
the bubble
super
guts?
like kinda, yeah, like the bubble guts. Like I'm not like super confident in an absolute domination. I'm not super confident in a win even, but I'm going to this game. And when you go to a game, you want, especially on the road, you can't pick them to lose because you just spent $600 on tickets. So why would you do that, right? I think there's a fighting chance here. I think it's to be close, though. I got 38-35 Syracuse with the dub.
38-35. Okay. That's a little bit higher than me. I went a little bit lower. But, yeah, I think that we're going to be able to put points up on these guys. I think the receivers are going to fix some things. I think there's a lot of things we're going to fix. And I just don't know why I talked myself into this. I had something going into here, but for some reason, and especially after listening to Mac Brown's press conference last night, and I feel like I have to take Syracuse, especially since, like you said, I'm going to the game. So call me a homer if you want. I don't think North Carolina is Clemson. I don't even know if their offense is Clemson. Their defense definitely is.
Well, their quarterback's better, but his weapons are not.
Yeah, and
the running backs are not, even though they're good. Hampton's good, but their running backs are not Shipley and Maffa.
No, Hampton is good.
Hampton's good, but you don't have a Shipley Maffa 1-2.
And Bishop's not bad either, but you're right. It's not the same. Offensive line's probably not the same. Defense is definitely not the same. And I think our defense is going to step up. I think that Marlowe's upset. I think Caleb Okachukwu's playing really, really good. Isaiah Johnson and Marlo Wax are the two defensive captains, and those guys had the biggest penalties called on them this last game at homecoming, in a game where if we didn't give up those turnovers and spot Clemson 14, then we would have been right in the game till the end. So they know that, and I think we're going to go down there relatively healthy, especially considering if you want to compare to last year. And I think that our defense is going to stand up to the test, and I think that they're still going to give up points now, but I still think they're going to hold. I think 31 points is the least amount of points North Carolina's had. So I got Syracuse 31, North Carolina 27.
Okay. That's a good score. I like that better than mine now. You talked me off of mine a little bit. I did pick mine yesterday, though. But I didn't listen to Mac Brown either, and I don't care what he has got to say.
It's not realistic. Like I said, it's nothing personal. It's just you sit there and you have a 20-plus minute conversation about this upcoming week, and you spend a minute of it talking about your opponent. I mean, there wasn't even really a lot of questions from the media.
I was going to say the media directs the conversation most of the time. So, what were they asking?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's where I'm saying is the disrespect of the media of it almost seems like the media and those type of people they're not even worried about Syracuse.
Well, it's not like
they're 4-0.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel you a little bit, but if the media and whoever's watching the Clemson game, that's not who Syracuse is.
I don't know. Like I said, I mean, if you probably aren't going to take the time to listen to it, but I mean,
let me check.
I took the time to listen to it.
I'm not.
And just for some reason, I'm sitting there listening to it, just waiting for him to talk about Syracuse and what they have to do to, and it never came out. Nothing ever came about. And I'm like, huh. But it says North Carolina, Syracuse pregame press conference, and there was literally nothing. So I don't know. Maybe it was just Maybe I'm just upset that I listened to the whole thing.
I think that's what it is. You're like trying to coach me into listening to it, but you're still at the same time.
I feel like
you're still at the same time though. You're telling me there's nothing worth listening to. So, okay, that's a terrible tactic. If you come up,
it's awful. It's awful. It really is.
I could barely get through our own pressers, bro. I mean, let's be honest. Before we went live, I said. It's every week I waste 17 minutes of my life listening to the upcoming game presser.
So you got to do it while you're driving.
I do it. That's when
so it doesn't feel like a waste.
I put it on and hook it to and hooked up to the speakers, the Bluetooth, and I just listen to it like it's a podcast or something. That's exactly what I do. But still, I mean, there's other things I could be listening to too. I just wish that there was a little bit more information in there. That's all. But I understand. I get it. I mean, I get it. I just, I guess it's to me. It's to me. It's just it's a pointless thing to do if we're not going to get any answers or anything. So, anyways, I just hope that, like you said, Syracuse comes into this game healthy. We still don't have word on everybody that we are up in questioning, but. The most important thing, though, is getting out healthy, and because you're gonna go home to Syracuse for a couple of days, and then you're gonna go to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we find this out every week, right? Like every week we have the game, and then they go to the press conference and they ask him questions about certain players, and of course, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see." And then, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden. The game starts and we see Dave Wallaba in a damn cast in a little, what is it? A little scooter, thing with like a ronde and stuff.
He's on a knee scooter. I mean? Is that what it is? The little knee scooter.
I mean, usually if you mess up your Achilles or something like that, you're supposed to stay off of it. So any type of foot or Achilles injuries, usually running around with one leg up on a scooter. But yeah, no, it's. That's just like one second we don't even know. Oh, this guy might play. We don't know if he's going to play. Next thing you know, you see him at the game and he's in a cast or he's in street clothes, and you're like, all right, what's going on? So we know what it is. It's a situation where he doesn't want the opponent to know that certain players aren't going to play. So I imagine we're going to see some different players in there, probably more than we've seen. And come Saturday, we'll probably be surprised. But it'll be harder to actually see because we'll be at the game. And we won't be at home listening to the television with the announcers being like, oh, this player's out and this player's out.
You know what? I thought about that. Not just in that aspect, but in every aspect. I wonder if, I guess the signal thing's a problem, right? But if you could get on, if you have YouTube TV or something, you could put it on and just stick it in your pocket and listen to the TV through your earbuds or something. Yeah.
Probably be too loud.
No, I've done that at races, dude. I've done that at races before.
Okay, but those are boring, and there's all these.
Dude, has nothing to do with it. It's way louder there. Is my point. It's way louder there. Is my point.
You should really hear cars, Sean.
It's horsepower, bro. I mean, it's loud.
No shit.
Have you ever been to a race? Have you ever been to a race, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Well, was it louder than a football game, Joe?
When the cars came around, yes.
What track were you at?
Watkins Glen.
Oh, that doesn't count. That is 2.5 miles. Yeah, you sit and twiddle your thumbs for a minute and a half. Come on. That's a terrible, terrible comparison. Jeez, I'm crow. I knew it had to be something honest. Stupid. Okay.
I was answering your question.
Look, I'm on my way out of that sport too. As soon as my driver retires, I'm done. They've ruined it. Somebody is ruining everything. I don't know who it is, but someone's ruining everything. Because it seems like everything's being ruined. Huh? It's just not the same sport, dude.
You're lucky a sport anyway with the carbon footprint you guys have.
It's true. As soon, yeah, right. I always said I was going to get out before they tried to go electric. There's an electric mock-up. I'm like, I just will not. So what do? Pit stop for a charge? I mean, what do you? What the hell?
Changing batteries.
Yeah. How many poor bastards got to mine that lithium? You know? I mean, where are we?
Yep.
So, anyway, don't get me started.
We're creating more problems than we're fixing here. I don't know, really.
Yeah, like the batteries aren't even. I mean, what do you do with them? At some point, everything just
start on fire.
I mean, I think that's what you. I mean, seriously, you just got to burn everything. And then what?
And it's a 2-hour red flag as you have the hazmat crew show up.
Yeah, you have the hazmat crew show up. No one can breathe anything. Everybody's got to evacuate, even though you're outside.
NASCAR races are already too long.
Reach below your seat and grab the respirators and head towards the exits calmly. No.
They're gonna have like a lift like Top Gun out in the
what, the ejection seats?
Shot out. The ejection seat where you get shot out and get flown up in the air and come down with the parachute so you don't burn alive.
Well, you might end up burning alive in that case. Anyway. Okay. All right. Go Cuse. This, as always, is taking a turn. And it's not a good one. So,
yeah.
Per the usual.
Why? Because we're talking about your sport?
No. I mean, look, I've loved that sport for a long time. It's not the same sport. It's not the same.
It's not.
They change the car every year. They try to do this to appease fans. The racing's not there. There's so much aero action to the cars these days and there's no passing. I mean, you know, it didn't used to be that you just watch it for the wrecks. I know people who don't watch NASCAR a lot. That's why they watch it. But now that's why I watch it, because nothing else is happening. It's so dumb. They ruined it. They really did. All right. All of you in the X spaces, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who's downloading the podcast. If you would, and you love us, give us a 5-star review and a rating. We appreciate it so much. We're so close to 100. I want to get 100. Damn it. At 93. For Joe, Sean, we're out.
Peace.